All right, get ready for the second hour of American Sunrise. President Trump ends trade negotiations with Canada following a Canadian government-funded ad twisting Ronald Reagan's thoughts on tariffs. Brian Glenn standing by at the White House with the very latest. Plus, President Trump calls off plans for federal deployment of troops and agents to San Francisco. All of this on the heels of California Governor Gavin Newsom threatening to sue the administration the moment National Guard troops step foot in that city. We have the details. And then later, former special counsel Jack Smith says there was nothing wrong with his decision to subpoena phone records from Republican lawmakers. According to Smith, everything was, in his words, entirely proper. But what's the truth? We'll get to the bottom of it next here on this second hour of American Sunrise.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
We have breaking news to share with you.
politics,
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
we've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrence.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second hour of American Sunrise. I'm David Brody coming to you from D.C. Let's bring in Emily Finn. She's in for Dr. G down in West Palm. T. Bates in our Denver newsroom. TGIF. To both of you guys, hey, I want to start with our lead story. It's not Middle East peace. It's not the government shutdown. It's obviously something that is extremely important to us. And let's cue the birthday music. Drew Christie in the control room. Hey,
Happy birthday,
birthday.
Drew.
Happy birthday.
There he is.
Happy birthday. It's your birthday.
Look.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
We
your
love
birthday.
it. I got to give a special shout out to Drew. Every morning I wake up at 5 a.m. and he's the first smile I see. So big happy birthday to him. I hope he has a great day.
Oh, that's
Drew,
great.
how old
I'm
are you? 55, 56?
Yeah.
What are you there?
Yeah.
58? How
You
old are
don't-
you, Drew?
You don't look like day
Nobody wants to say anything.
23. 23. What'd you get from Colin? Did you get Red Bull? Is that what you got for a gift? I don't know what he got. But anyhow, congratulations. You're such a young whippersnapper at 23, Terrence.
There you go.
You know,
Still got
wait till you get to
Similac on your
60.
lip, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. All right. Well, Drew, again, happy birthday. Colin, we don't care about you today. Colin, by the way,
No.
is Drew's brother, everyone. For those of you out there, he was the one standing closest to the camera. It's all about his brother today. So
That's right.
He's going to be a little sad that it's not all about him. So look, guys,
No
let's
special
go ahead. I'm
announcement.
sorry, did you want to say something?
I just want to say no special announcement. When Colin's birthday, it's like womp womp. Let's just move on. But yes, Drew, congratulations. All right, please. All right, go ahead.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's get to this morning's headlines. President Trump set to make his latest international trip tonight as he boards Air Force One headed to Malaysia. During the trip to Asia in general, the commander-in-chief set to visit Japan and South Korea as well. Trade likely going to be one of the key issues he addresses along the way. However, the most watched part of the upcoming trip will very likely happen next Thursday when the president is scheduled to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping amid the ongoing trade war between the United States and China.
On November 1st, the tariff on China goes to 157%, which is record-setting territory. And we don't want that because it's not sustainable for them. They can't sustain that. We don't want them to have to go through that. So a meeting with President Xi, and I would say we have some big issues, like with the farmers and various other things, but the first question I'm going to be asking him about is fentanyl. And if you think about it, they make $100 million. Think of this. They make $100 million selling fentanyl into our country, $100 million. They lose $100 billion with the 20% tariff. So it's not a good business proposition.
President Trump appears optimistic about reaching a trade agreement with China, saying earlier this week, quote, "I think we're going to come out very well and everyone's going to be very happy." And while POTUS is headed across the Pacific to try and wrap up one trade war, it appears the one that he was fighting to the north of us has now ended, albeit not in the way that anyone expected. Thursday, President Trump announced that all trade talks with Canada are over. Taking to True Social, Mr. Trump writing in all caps, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Wow. The strong words coming after what he calls a fraudulent advertisement featuring former President Ronald Reagan criticizing tariffs.
We also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
U.S. and Canadian negotiators had been at the bargaining table for months over Trump-imposed tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, and cars. Even the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation out with the statement about that ad, saying the government of Ontario, Canada, which released the video, was, quote, using selective audio and video of the late president, and the foundation now reviewing its legal options. Well, you just saw Kash Patel a little while ago. That's because the FBI busted a major gambling ring leading to the arrest of high-profile NBA coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat player Terry Rozier. Rozier, by the way, accused of insider sports betting and using confidential information about fellow NBA players and teams to rig games and bets. Billups is indicted in a case involving underground poker games allegedly backed by the mafia, and Kash Patel says that he is not having it. In fact, the director of the FBI describing the fraud and the game rigging as mind-boggling, saying that it rose to tens of millions of dollars. That's a quick check of your headlines. Now, let's get a quick check of your forecast. Meteorologist Tracy Anthony standing by with more on what to expect as you head out today. So look, this is my favorite part of the show and probably the favorite part for most of our viewers, because this is when you give people their personal forecast for wherever they may be living.
You know what? We just started doing this week, and Lakeville, Minnesota, that's where I'm from. Not Lakeville, but it's a suburb of Minneapolis. So it was a familiar one. So we're going to continue to interact. So keep sending us your cities, and I'll break down your local forecast. Now, we've got 3 gorgeous fall forecasts ahead. So Lakeville, Minnesota, 57 degrees today, and then we're going to be in the mid-50s here for the rest of the week. A mix of sun and clouds. Pretty nice. Take you down to Ocala, Florida. This was sent in from Carefree Largo, and a similar forecast, just, you know, about 20 degrees warmer here in Ocala. So we're not expecting any rain showers through the weekend. And Greenville, South Carolina, we're in the mid-60s, again with a mix of sun and clouds. So those are some of the quiet spots. The other big weather headlines is Tropical Storm Melissa could be a Category 4 hurricane by the time we all meet back here on Monday. And then lots of catastrophic issues potentially here for Jamaica this weekend. So Terrence, it is not looking so good as these weather conditions are expected to deteriorate quickly.
Tracy, one last quick favor. Say the state that you're from.
I think I lost you. Oh, now you're back.
Oh, say one quick favor. Say the state you're from. Lakeville, what is it?
I'm from Minnesota.
See, I wanted you to say Minnesota. Minnesota.
Oh. It only comes out every now and then.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Tracy, always good to see you. Thanks for the forecast.
You
we
as well.
Appreciate it. And folks, there at the bottom of your screen, you see that QR code. Scan it and join our Weather Nation team. We, of course, would love to have you there. All right, let's get you back over to David. David, I'm sorry. When I hear Minnesotans say Minnesota, I love that accent, Minnesota.
No, and they kind of do a little Canadian thing too sometimes. I do a New York thing, as you know, and that means, you know, hey, yo, and water and order, as you know. All right. The government shutdown continues today. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says roughly 500,000 civilian federal employees will miss a full paycheck today. Take a look.
Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month. This means almost $4 billion in capital is being withheld from small businesses across the country. The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make ends meet as the Democrats continue to shut down the government. Pilots are calling on Democrats to end this dangerous political game.
Wow. All right. For more, let's bring in Rav's chief White House correspondent, Brian Glenn, who also, he's at the White House, so I'm assuming he's a construction crane operator as well. Brian, I'm assuming you're working on that construction project as we speak. Good morning. Where did negotiations stand on this showdown, by the way? And how are you taking part in the construction? Maybe not.
No, I am not putting on the hard hat, but it is ongoing behind me as it tends to dominate the topics there. I think about 11 out of 27 questions yesterday, David, was about the big, beautiful ballroom. But in terms of this government shutdown, one of the things that, and the sound that you played about Karen and Leavitt talking about the small business loans that have been held up or stopped due to the shutdown. I think about the impact of that, and I think about the millions of Americans that want to grow their small business, perhaps even start their new business. They can no longer do that until this government opens up. Even yesterday, during that roundtable, President Trump said that he had a private individual that was willing to drop $130 million of its own money, if needed, to pay our military. But here we are going into the weekend. No agreement on this bill to get this government back open, and millions of federal workers not getting a paycheck today.
Brian, trade has got to be top of the agenda there at the White House today. Obviously, in the lead up to you, we played the issues with Canada, President Trump saying no more negotiating with Canada when it comes to trade right now. And then, of course, President Trump heading tonight over to Malaysia and then in general, Japan and South Korea once again to talk trade, specifically even with Xi Jinping. Kind of wrap all that up in a bow. I know it's a lot to take in, Brian, but wrap all of that up in a bow for us, if you will, in terms of the White House posture over the next couple of days when it comes to trade.
Yeah, well, on screen, you've got the statement right there on Truth Social. Let's just say that Prime Minister Carney is in the penalty box, using a phrase out of the hockey world there, for that ad that basically extracted Ronald Reagan's audio, put to some imaging on screen to try to, I guess, sour the opinion of the trade deal. But President Trump wants nothing about that at all, is basically shut down trade talks. But now Carney has got to get on a plane, fly to Asia, as President Trump is doing a little bit later today. And I would imagine they're going to have a few words at that summit in regards to trade. But President Trump not messing around as he went to Truth Social to post that up.
Hey, Brian, as I understand it, though, this ad isn't necessarily coming directly from Prime Minister Carney. It's coming from a secondary person over in Ontario, in the Ontario government, not necessarily even directly from the Prime Minister. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah. That is correct, but I mean, I still have got to hold him responsible. I mean, doesn't he see, he might have saw that and said, hey, let's not do this right now. This might sour some of our negotiations. Just like if it happened here, they would hold President Trump responsible for anything that a Republican might have done, or somebody in the Senate and in Congress. So you got to hold him responsible. But hey, you know what? We got a showdown here. We got the LA Dodgers and we got the Toronto Blue Jays. So maybe they can put a little sports bet legally on who might win the World Series this year. But they will meet up at this Asia trip here come about 26 hours from now, or even legally. They take off tonight at 11 o'clock. So it's, legally there. That's what a big story that is. It's huge. I was hoping maybe we'd talk. It's huge. And, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN started running his mouth saying that next thing you know, President Trump's getting into the WNBA. And I just got to say, the best thing that can happen to the WNBA is for President Trump to acknowledge that league exists, but that's for another show. Yeah, big news coming out of the gambling world there. I know. I probably shouldn't have gone there on that.
We're gonna have to come back and talk about all of that gambling stuff some other time. Hey, good to see you though, Brian. Appreciate you as always. Have a great weekend.
Yep. I'll put my hard hat on. I'll get back to work behind me.
Okay, good to know. Brian Glenn working for the American people there. All right, coming up, National Guard will not be deployed to San Francisco, according to President Trump. Is this a roadblock for the administration's crime crackdown? We'll discuss the details when we come back, everybody.